Want to know the pros and cons of living in Texas? Well, hey, today I have my husband with me. This is Brandon Pollard, and I'm Dana Pollard if you are new to the channel. And what we talk about is living in Texas, the real estate here, and I just wanted to bring him on to just share a little bit more of what it's like living in Texas, talking about the pros and cons. So let's get started.
So I'm fifth generation of Texan, and I was born in Fort Worth at the Harris Hospital. And I think that probably people that I meet in Texas aren't necessarily from here. But one of the things that they're so excited about is how friendly we are as Texans.
Okay, yeah, so number one, they are friendly. It's a culture here, meaning even if the culture they come from is not that friendly, it's like they morph into this expectation that you're supposed to be friendly. Would you say the same?
Yeah, so in the country too, one of the things that you have to learn, if you're not in the city, we actually do the one finger wave. And so as you're driving, you're just kind of, you got to pass somebody and you got to do the one finger wave. That's a Texan thing, by the way. That may be a country thing.
That's in the country. That is not a suburb thing. Is not a city thing. That's a country thing.
Okay, well, yeah, you get tired if you did that in the city. So there is traffic in the city. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so that's a con, right? So in the city there is traffic. The closer you get to Dallas, the closer you get to Houston, Austin, Fort Worth, there's traffic. But what I love about, and it's popping up in all of the major cities right now, is they are creating the expressways. And so you can go from Dallas to Fort Worth in about 1 hour, maybe hour and 15 minutes from the extremes on the expressway. Now you do have to pay for it, but there are free, you can sit in traffic for free.
Can we talk about why there's traffic? Because there's jobs in Texas. Can we talk about that?
True.
I mean, some of the big corporations are here, like Amazon, and I know Tesla isn't moving here.
Well, they moved to Austin.
Okay, so Texas has such a large area of job opportunities.
Yeah.
And so the cities are starting to see that.
More people are moving in. It is getting a little bit congested, I'm not going to lie. So
just in the city areas.
We have a lot of land, which means we have a lot of opportunities to expand from the major metro areas. That's your point. Well, it's very big in Texas.
Okay, so I do remember that they said that you could take the entire world population.
Oh, that's what it was.
And put it inside of Texas, and they could all have a small, tiny home in Texas. So what was it,
7.5 billion people on the planet. They could all live in the state of Texas like if it were like New York.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Right. We blanked. Sorry about that.
So the third pro is the entertainment here in Texas. Tell me what you love about living in Texas as far as entertainment is.
Okay, guys, I love sports. So we're talking about Dallas Cowboys. We're talking about the Texas Rangers. We're talking about the Dallas Mavericks. You've got the Houston Astros. You've got San Antonio Spurs. You've got great Houston, Texas. You got great Texan sports teams. If you're looking for entertainment in sports, you can find it. Some of the best golf courses. We actually have some golf tournaments here in Texas. That
I just started to learn how to play golf with you, right?
Yes, she's
so
excellent.
I'm starting to explore the golf courses as well.
She's learning.
I did better than I thought on my first time.
I thought so too.
But I couldn't even get a double bogey, so that's not that good.
Hey, you kept up.
Okay, so
entertainment, food-wise, talk about that.
Oh, there are many choices. What I love about Texas is, yes, we have all the chain restaurants, but we also have a lot of mom and pop restaurants or non-chain restaurants, which gives a variety, and it's so good.
Yeah, one of our things is to go weekly on a date, and so we like to find hole in the walls where it's, just a small owner that we can support, and so that's one of the fun things that we like to do.
Okay, so find that. Also entertainment-wise, the lakes. We have many lakes. The majority are man-made. However, you can go boating, you can go fishing, you can rent kayaks. That's something that we really like.
If you have kids, you're going to want to go tubing. It's so much fun, jet skiing.
Oh, yeah. You can tube down the Brazos River or whatever river you find, right? That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so Texas is known for large water parks as well. So if you have kids, amusement parks, water parks, these are things that Texans love to entertain. And so you're going to have the biggest concerts, you're going to have the biggest amusement parks and amusement rides. You're going to have the biggest water slides.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just known for big. And so we like to do things that way. And just entertainment is huge.
Okay, so you just talked about entertainment, but in the home, we love to entertain in the home. And that's one thing I love about Texas is probably what a good 9 to 10 months out of the year we can and do entertain out homes in our backyards.
Yeah.
People love to have, the grill. We love to grill for our friends and family. We love, not everyone has a pool, but if you want a pool, it's really nice. Or we have many neighborhood master plan communities with neighborhood pools. Speaking of friendliness, and entertainment. Like our neighborhood, we're in a master plan community, and they'll have food trucks come out where you can meet your neighbors. They have pool parties. We even hosted a Texas Hold'em party at our house to the neighbors who we had never met before, just to get to know our neighbors. And so they came to our house just because of a Facebook group in our neighborhood. Isn't that cool? So entertainment. Texas loves entertainment.
Yeah, so we try to bring over people weekly just to hang out in the backyard, and that's something that Texans do. We love our backyards. We love to bring people over, and so you're going to see that a lot in Texas, where just invite a friend, invite your neighbors, even if you don't know someone. As long as you can grill and put something on the barbecue,
they'll show up.
They will come.
Yes.
If you grill it, they will come.
So the fourth pro of living in Texas is there are so many school choices. So we have some of the best public schools in Texas. The majority of them, I want to say it's like 6 out of 10 are in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, but there are great schools in Austin, great schools in Houston, San Antonio, but not just really good public school options, but we have great private school options as well as, what do we do? You don't know?
What do we do?
Homeschool. Homeschool.
I was like, what do we do?
We have put our kids in public and in private and homeschooled. We had a great public and private experience just for our personal lifestyle. It worked best to homeschool. And so there are so many homeschool opportunities as well. Any thoughts on schooling?
Yeah, I would just say, we actually have one of our kids in college right now. And so, if you are a homeschooler, just know that that's an opportunity to get them prepared. That's something that Texas is really pro homeschoolers.
There's a large community of homeschoolers, and don't check out if you're not into homeschool, because we have more coming up. But just a side note, Texas does not have any regulations for homeschoolers at all. You don't even have to register them in the state. Now, there are some basic requirements to graduate your homeschooler,
right?
But it's very minimal. Anyway, let's move on.
Moving on.
All right, so the fifth pro to living in Texas is there are many places of worship here in Texas. Now, we are considered the Bible Belt. So the saying is there's a church on every street corner here, which I love. We are Christian, but there's also Hindu temples, Buddhist. There's so many opportunities to worship in Texas. What the whole thing about that I love is that what I hear from other people is that they feel ostracized when they just believe in God, right? And so any thoughts on that?
Well, I would say on every corner, people say that there's a church, but I would say there's probably 2 or 3 hospitals. So Texas is known for great hospitals as well, but also for your not just for your physical health, but for your mental health is the church. And so it's known to help and support families.
Yeah.
And so Texas is known to be a family oriented state.
Mm-hmm.
We often in Texas we see churches that are all types. I've seen Vietnamese, Chinese. You just see all buildings with just coming to worship.
Because there's such diversity here.
There is huge diversity in Texas.
Especially I would say on the Dallas side, Austin, Houston. There's just a lot of diversity.
Right. Some of the largest airports in the world are in Texas.
Yeah. Well, we have international one in Dallas and in Houston.
Yeah, and so they're flying in from all over. So diversity is huge.
Mm-hmm. Number 6. I can't count. Number 6. So the other pro to Texas is, I know I hear different things and I've read many things on the internet. I've only experienced Texas healthcare. And so how it works in Texas is when you live close to the city, you have so many options. You have the best providers. You have the thing that's negative, which is the con, which should be down in the last of the video, but is we function mainly off PPOs. And so you have to get a referral for your specialty doctor. However, we have the specialty doctors in the cities, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
every type.
On every corner, you're going to get a specialty doctor, which is amazing if you have an issue that you want to address, because that's something that's important when you are dealing with a back. You do not want a foot doctor. You want a back doctor that's a specialist. And so it's very, very important. And Texas is known for how large and how qualified their doctors are. So
just on the healthcare note, that sometimes Texas gets, and I used to actually say this, that Texas ranks low on healthcare, but really it doesn't. It's just what I've learned is Texas is so big that the rural areas, the healthcare is not as good, meaning you don't have access. You have to drive a long way to get a specialty doctor. So you have family in Stephenville, and they do have a hospital in Stephenville, which is a population of about 20,000, but the surrounding towns will go to that hospital, right? But if you need a specialty, they have to fly them into Dallas, Fort Worth, or something like that.
Right. Sometimes you're looking at an hour drive or an hour and a half drive. And so especially think about Texas being such a huge state, and there's so much country. And so the doctors tend to be in the cities.
Yeah.
Especially specialists.
That's right. All right. Number 7 pro to living in Texas is the greenery. Now, before you go, I thought Texas was flat. Before you ask why, I say this. I had a client come from San Diego to Texas, and she's like, Dana, what in the world? You told me in the videos it wasn't very scenic in Texas. And yet, when she was here, she was like, it's green everywhere. So with her perspective, driving in San Diego, she was on the side where she said there's just concrete everywhere, so it's not as pretty there as you would imagine, unless you live on the ocean, of course. So I say greenery because we have so much land here. And yes, we do have hills. We may not have mountains. We do have hills in the hill country. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. If you love hills, Flower Mound is a great area. There are different pockets that have tall trees, like East Texas, Houston.
Also, bluebonnets start to bloom. And bluebonnets is like God just pouring down blue paint. I mean, it's gorgeous when
people go take pictures on
when
the
you
side
see
of the road
fields of it. Yeah, you can just put kids and have a great family picture in it. And so now up north or even in the Panhandle, there's a lot of flat land.
Yeah, it's very boring. It's a very boring drive. However, they have some really cool canyons.
They do have great canyons there, and so there's things you can do and you can find. You just have to make a little bit of drive because Texas is so big.
Yes. So there are some hills. It's not as ugly as maybe I've painted in the past in the videos, but especially like you said in the spring, it's green, it's lush, especially right now, it's raining a lot.
Yeah, take a family drive and you're going to enjoy just taking pictures out in the scenery. Another family drive that we do is we drive to go on a cruise. And so if you love entertainment.
That's supposed to be on the entertainment point.
Yes. If you love entertainment and you want to drive and just be able to go to Mexico, you want to be able to, we sometimes go to Florida area. And so I just love it because we can drive and get on a cruise ship and it's just a few hours
Yeah, we don't
away.
have to fly. That's really cool.
Yep.
The 8th pro to living in Texas is there are jobs, and more jobs. Now you had mentioned this earlier, but I want to expound on it a little bit in that from COVID, as you know, Texas did not shut down as long as many other states. And so I kind of have a prediction here. While we already were like a large economy, just the state of Texas alone, I feel like even if other states struggle in the coming months, that Texas will only continue to boom because we have so many jobs. Like we don't have enough people like
to fill the jobs.
Right now.
Right. So what she's saying is we had a head start in getting that momentum with jobs. And so we're getting things sent out, and we're sending to other states their needs right now as they're trying to get back open, trying to get back. We're actually way ahead of the game, and so we're providing a lot of jobs right now.
Yeah, and the wages are going up, not because it's a government mandate, but because it's a demand.
Supply and demand.
Yeah, that's right. And so I'm like shocked at some of these people that I'm like, you're getting paid how much for what? So Texas is a booming economy. Corporations are moving here from all over because it's such a corporate-friendly environment. There are no corporate taxes. There are no state income tax. We still pay federal, of course, but that is a big pro. Which leads me to the con. We talk about this in other videos. The con is, number one con is the property tax. Yes, it seems very scary. The property taxes on houses. Now, once you get used to the payment, it's not that big a deal, right?
Yeah, it's become normal over the
it's kind of normal to us.
Decades that we've been paying that. So
now we pay 2.8% tax rate, which is on the high side. I do say to when you're calculating property tax, use 2.8, but it could be lower. It could be 2.2. It could be higher, 3.1 in some of those brand new neighborhoods with a PID on it. But it is high. That is a con. But we don't pay state income tax, as well as those corporate taxes that the corporations are paying in other states. Not paying them here keeps our cost of living low for goods, right?
Right.
Groceries,
right.
Gas. That's what's keeping the cost of living low, as well as electricity, utility bills. Those are all on the low side in Texas, and I believe one of the major contributing factors is that no state corporate tax.
Yep. I agree.
The second con, even though we've mentioned several cons by now, is the humidity. Yes, it is humid in Texas, but I would say it's way more humid in San Antonio, Houston, even Austin than it is in the northern side. So Dallas, Fort Worth, or the Panhandle, it's not near as humid. We do have humid streaks. Like right now, it's raining a lot, so it's pretty humid outside.
Right.
Hot and humid, but as we get further into the summer, it's gonna feel more hot, not as humid. But I would say we are not near as humid as Florida by all means.
Right. If your lifestyle is outdoors, though, you can be outdoors 10, 11 months of the year. There may be 3 or 4 weeks out of the year that it doesn't allow you to be outside, but I'm telling you, I love the outdoors, and so
yeah.
I don't see it as a con. I think of it as a way to sweat off the unwanted fat.
All right, the next con of living in Texas is, and you hear about this, is the flooding. Now, before I explain a little bit about the flooding, what's your first, because we haven't talked about this, what's your first initial response to being scared of flooding in Texas?
Well, growing up here almost 40 years, I haven't had a lot of experience with flooding except for people near the lakes. But also I know that near the ocean down south.
By Houston?
By Houston and Galveston area, there's some flooding there that's happened. And so I don't have a lot of experience with it.
Okay, that was the answer I was looking for, because I talk with the agents on my team as well, and we all have the same conclusion. We personally, at least in Dallas-Fort Worth, don't experience a lot of flooding. Now, like you said, Grapevine Lake floods on the south side. Mm-hmm. On the north side, there's not too much flooding going on. Right now, we're getting tons of rain. So I'm not saying there's no flooding, but they'll shut down streets if it's known to have flooding go through, so you can't go through. That's Grapevine. But in regular, I say newer, meaning these homes that were built in the 70s, 80s, and plus, there were engineers that have designed these neighborhoods to, funnel water accordingly, especially these new neighborhoods. Like, right. You have to have an engineer funnel the water somewhere, right? So I want to say when we see flooding, it's usually a hurricane in Houston was the last big one. News footage, they're older homes. Typically the newer homes had a plan, right?
Right.
And again, the further north you go, we do experience rain and thunderstorms, but we don't experience flooding. There may be flash floods in some of these, like my parents' community, an older community, there may be some flooding, but I've never experienced a flood. I've never had a house underwater all my years of living here.
Yeah, so the new developments and the new areas, they're pretty aware of what's going on, and especially with the new technology of drainage. I mean, yeah. Really, that's the biggest thing, is to make sure that things drain well.
Yes.
Developers and builders are very aware of that.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say that as real estate agents, we have quick, easy access to check before you put in an offer on a home, to check if it's in a floodplain, okay? We check every single home. If the home is in a floodplain, a 100-year floodplain or a 500-year floodplain, you don't want to buy that home. Now, it may be the perfect home. If it is the perfect home, just know, while it's still unlikely to flood, there is a chance and you have to pay additional insurance, and it is not cheap. So unless you're willing to cough up the money for insurance and it's your dream home, I wouldn't buy that home. And our agents can check that for you.
Right. So it's not just a matter of just getting some high water boots, right? It's a matter of getting insurance as well.
Yeah. Which is the last con that I want to talk about is tornadoes.
Now, I have had some experience with seeing tornadoes, but haven't had the damage that some of the other places have had. So, tornadoes are, in 40 years, I've seen tornadoes come and go. And
how many times have you actually seen a tornado?
Probably at least 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
In 40 years. Yes. And so you see the cloud formation, and you see it coming down, and you see it at a distance. Now, it's never hit our home.
I think I've only seen one tornado to the eye, and it wasn't fully down.
Right.
But I saw it forming.
Right. Well, we've seen damage done to homes because of that. But here's the thing: it's very rare.
Very rare.
Very rare. And so it's not rare to see tornadoes. It's very rare for those tornadoes to do damage to homes.
To do damage, to touch the ground. And so I looked up some stats at weather.gov on the amount that actually touched down. You can actually go and see which county, how many touched down. We get many warnings, but very few actually touch down. And even of the ones that do touch down, it's very rare to find one that does massive damage. Last year, there was one that went through Preston, through North Dallas, that did a lot of damage. Nobody died. In fact, in 2020, nobody died from tornadoes at all in the entire state of Texas.
I read a stat that said more people die from cows. Now, you shouldn't be slapping cows on the rear, but I've heard that there's more deaths from cows than sharks. And so if you're in the ocean...
So don't be afraid of tornadoes, be afraid of cows in Texas. So Dana, tell me the next step. Well, hey, let's meet on Zoom. Whether you are a year out or even need to move this month, the next step is to fill out the Dream Home Questionnaire in the link below. In the Dream Home Questionnaire, you will paint a picture for me of what you want in a dream home and in a community. And after you share your favorite snack, you will click the submit button and an email will be sent to you with a link to book a consultation call with me via Zoom. We will get to meet online and you can ask me anything you want about Texas. Then we will narrow down some great areas for you. And when you're ready, I have a team to help you find the perfect home for your family. So go ahead, don't be shy. The link is below in the description. And while you're at it, follow me on Instagram and you can get to know me a little more in a more personal way. I look forward to meeting you.